Hello people of YouTube, my name is Brad. This is my channel Animate Orange, and this week in 3D metal model news. To be a little different this morning, I'm going to start with Piececool. A little bit of a surprise that I found out here just recently. It's actually kind of late Friday night when I'm recording this, and I just found out that Piececool is coming out with 3 more Star Wars models. And I know not everybody watching this is a Star Wars fan, and I apologize to you if you're not, but I have to say, it looks like Piececool is coming out with 3 Star Wars droids in their lineup. They've got pictures of C-3PO, R2-D2, and K-2SO as upcoming models. There's no information about when they'll be released. I'm assuming sometime in August they'll be released, and of course there's like a week or so lag before they show up in stores. But looking at the dimensions, I'm going to go over the dimensions real quick. There's not a whole lot of information, but I'm going to start with the R2-D2. R2-D2 listed as 137 parts, 2 3/4 sheets, with the dimensions of length 8.5 by width of 6.5 by a height of 11 centimeters. And it's given a 4 out of 7 stars. C-3PO, they say, is 2.5 of the, what is it, by 11, kind of the iconic size or premium size sheets. I should point that out. 108 pieces. It's a length of 10.5, width of 7, and a height of 17.3 centimeters. 4 out of 7 stars. And the K2SO, and again, all these are in color. I don't think I mentioned that. They are all in color. K2SO, 2.5 sheets, 134 pieces, length of 8, width of 12, and a height of 19.5 centimeters. 5 out of 7 stars, so that one looks to be a little bit more difficult. Now, I don't have a... At first I thought maybe these were kind of a release of the Disney exclusives because of the K2SO. That's the only way I've known of K2SO coming out. I don't have any of the Disney exclusives to compare to. The only C-3PO, but I have the regular Metal Earth C-3PO and the Metal Earth C-3PO and R2-D2, and I have the old silver R2-D2 that I've had. It's one of the first models, among the first that I got. So I did a comparison. I went down and I measured how big just the silver R2-D2 is, and he's like between like 6 and 7 centimeters, I think it was, or 7 and 8 centimeters. Sorry, I really shouldn't be guessing. I wrote it down right here in front of me. It's roughly 6.7 centimeters tall, the silver version. I used some calipers to get that. So if the Metal Earth version is 6, not quite 7 centimeters, and this version is 11, that's considerably taller. Now, the next biggest one I have to compare to is the Mega R2. He's definitely much bigger than 11 centimeters, but 11 centimeters for R2, that's pretty tall. And the fact that C-3PO goes up over 17 centimeters and K2SO is almost 20 centimeters tall, that's pretty tall. And if you look, the boxes are basically the premium size boxes, the same size and style boxes that the recent Solo Millennium Falcon, the X-Wing, and the Imperial Star Destroyer ones came in, and they were bigger than the Metal Earth version. So I guess Piececool is going big or going home. I'm interesting to find out more information. Just going by these measurements, they're definitely a larger size, and I might have to get these. But that just popped up. I have to mention that because I just found that out, and I'm a little bit excited, a little bit puzzled, a little bit just kind of, wow, that's interesting. Going back to where I usually start with fascinations, there's nothing new on their website this week. I did kind of want to speak about how I had previously mentioned a possible timetable of upcoming models, and mentioned the Stormtrooper model, the Tuskegee Airman, and the Infinity Gauntlet, which are, I heard that they were supposed to come out around the 24th, and they came out pretty close to that. They're already out. We're into the month, and they're already out, already orderable. I think some people may have already started on them. The next batch, according to the information that I got, the next batch is due to arrive the 14th of August, which is later this month, because we just rolled over into a new month of August. And it's supposed to include the Kawasaki GPZ-900R and the U2 Dragon Lady. And then the next 2 that are, according to this timetable, are going to be released on August 31st, which is almost a month away. That's going to be the P-40 Warhawk and the long-awaited Darth Vader. So they're going to make us wait for that. Whether or not this timetable will hold is anyone's guess, but one can hope, as they're telling what can interrupt things between now and then. But otherwise, there's nothing new to report on Metal Earth. They just recently put some stuff out, so you know, that's fantastic. I guess we need a little bit of a break. Now, going back and speaking of Piececool and how they've got 3 more larger droids coming out, I had asked more than once, I think, about comparisons, or mentioned that I'm curious about a comparison of the recently put out like Star Destroyer and X-Wing and Solo Falcon compared to the Iconics versions or Metal Earth Premium versions. And some people have provided me some information but no comparison pictures until a recent post on the Metal Earth subreddit. Reddit user Gilidry, aka George Bell, posted a comparison of the Piececool Lando's Millennium Falcon, the Metal Earth Premium Series Lando's Millennium Falcon, and the red Target exclusive, mostly exclusive, red Millennium Solo Lando's Millennium Falcon. That one's more of Metal Earth size, and it shows all 3 and how much bigger, which we already knew that the Iconics or Premium version was, but how much bigger, even more so, the Piececool, and the difference in the paint job on that. And George goes on to state that the larger size makes it easier to shape parts such as the cockpit area. There was some comparison of the paint and talking about how they seem to be the same build. I'm not going to go and read everything that's in that post. I was very curious to see the size difference. That very much satisfies my curiosity. I showed you a picture of it if you want to find out more. It is a nice post full of decent amount of detail, or a good amount of detail. I don't even say decent, a good amount of detail about the comparison. There's a link in the description down below to that Reddit post if you want to check that out for yourself. I suggest if you're curious like me, go give it a read because it is a nice comparison. Lauren Palm had sent me some information, but unfortunately could not compare the 2 because she didn't have the 2, but she even comments on that as well. So thank you, George, for sharing that information on Reddit. I was very curious about that, and now I know. And to find that out right before finding out about these 3 upcoming droid models, I can only imagine how big. Well, I imagine they give me dimensions, but still, giving dimensions and actually seeing it, at least for somebody like me, is almost 2 different things, and that's going to be interesting to see. Beyond that, looking around on AliExpress, on MU's website, Crazy Toys. I used to look at Crazy Toys a lot for information, but they haven't been as forthcoming with new stuff as they used to be. But none of the sites are showing, AliExpress or MU, none of it's showing anything new. So that's pretty much it for new models this week. One thing that I do want to talk about is the recent Past the Model video that I put out. It's come to my attention that I definitely missed at least one video submission, and I sincerely apologize for that. I will admit that I had some organizational issues and some issues getting the videos I translated and saved from YouTube. I had said that you could upload these to YouTube and share a link, and I had software, I still have software that was supposed to be able to make it easy for me to download, convert, and use those videos. Well, of course, once I started getting submission, there was some sort of YouTube update that rendered that software unusable. And all of this happened at the same time as me starting a new job, so I had limited enough time available to me to even resolve the issue. There's workarounds, but they were far more time consuming, and I was getting videos from other locations, and there was a period there where it was just kind of a mess trying to keep track of what was coming in and organizing it. Finally did solve the problem, started getting things organized, and it unfortunately skipped at least one video. So I put up an announcement, or put up a post on YouTube, and if you haven't seen it, if I've missed your video, you submitted me a video and I've missed it, please let me know in the comments down below, because I absolutely positively want to rework that video to include anybody that I missed. There was a lovely young lady that was in the video that I know I missed that absolutely needs to be in the compilation, in the Past the Model Challenge, and I intend on fixing that. So let me know if you got missed too. So I'm going to redo it and add in anybody I missed, because you absolutely deserve to be in there, and I apologize if I missed you. Time isn't everything. I'm making excuses. I did my best, but I'm human and I make mistakes. I'm willing to correct it. So let me know in the description down or in the comments down below if I missed your video, so I can try and find it and figure out what I did. And I want to fix it. Now, last week, it was a couple of things I talked about. I was still asking for information or asking for suggestions on models to do for the next Pass the Model Challenge, which the idea is, again, we're going to try to do one model, but different people do pieces, and it all comes together into one big one. So I'm still looking for suggestions on that, though. Don't know when I'll actually get around to recording that because I'm still just trying to get life stabilized around new job and finding time to do things and getting tons of doctor's appointments out of the way because it's coming at the end of, we're getting towards the end of the yearly I've got to redo everything thing that really takes up time. So been a bit of a mess there, but I'm coming out the other end and hoping to have more time. So I am still looking for suggestions. The other thing that I mentioned was I've talked several times about possible recolored models that are like they either taken the silver versions of the Piececool or Metal Earth or knockoff versions of Piececool Metal Earth and recolored them. And anybody that's had experience building them, I asked to share, because I haven't done that, but I'd like to know anybody else. I got several responses. I'm going to start with the recolors and what people said about that. So starting with Richard Kroll, I've built a lot of the recolored models. The metalhead models do pretty well. You still have to be careful not to scratch the enamel, but that's the same with the plain silver version. In particular, the F4U Corsair and Supermarine Spitfire both look so much better in color. Other colored versions have not worked as well. A few have had rather thick enameling that cracks or peels when shaping the parts. That was very frustrating. I built the colored version of the X-Wing fighter from Star Wars that was like that. In the end, I decided that the original silver version of the X-Wing fighter looked better anyway. R2-D2 turned out much better in color, where I can touch up defects in the enamel with tester's paint. So thank you, Richard, for that information. It sounds like it's kind of a hit and miss. I'm assuming they were just kind of generic. Were they all metalhead models? I'm guessing they were all metalhead models you're talking about, so it's kind of a hit and miss with them. But I'm not really sure. But thank you for sharing that information. We have George Bell here. I built a few of these recolors, and overall, they aren't bad. It seems like these companies are refining their processes, and the quality of the paint is definitely getting better. The first recolor I tried was a blue version of the HK Nanyuan Hypersport car, and it was a nightmare. Most of the paint had flaked and chipped off before I was even halfway through the build. I recently finished recolored versions of the 4 old-school Metal Earth Transformers, and while the quality of the metal itself was obviously from a knockoff company, the paint held up great, and all 4 kits went together really nicely. Definitely worth looking into if you prefer colored versions of the models. So thank you, George Bell, for sharing that. I would be a little bit curious to know if there were particular brands that you went with that were, oh, you said the HK was a recolored version of HK Nanyuan. Was that an HK Nanyuan model, or did somebody else knock it off? Or is it even possible to keep track of who's doing what? Thank you for that information. I'm going to move on to Warren Phillips, who also commented. I bought a colored version of the Piececool Missouri battleship, and it looked like it was made in color. Some of the real bad knockoffs are cheaply painted and the paint will chip off. But this battleship looked just like every other Piececool or Fascinations color model. I put it together about 2 years ago and it still looks great, no chips or areas where the paint is thicker. The crappiest paint jobs are usually found on the older Metal Earth knockoffs, the ones that are $5 or $6 on Ali. So it's possible that AliExpress, but Piececool did release a color version of that, and I just didn't realize it. It is honestly difficult to keep track with all of the different models out there. Even on the Metal Earth subreddit, they do a pretty good job of keeping track of what's what, but you can only do so much because you really run into a world of not even knowing who's the knockoff and who's not. So maybe Piececool did release a colored version of that, and I'm just not keeping good track, because my apologies, it gets difficult to know what they have and what they don't have. Now, there was one comment that was made about the large model suggestions to do like a pass the model challenge with one kit. And Mary Pate, what about if we did like a town or set? I'm thinking about the Shanghai Center amusement park or town set that has like the hot pot shop, tea shop, etc. That way people could just buy the pieces they were assigned and reduce costs while still being cohesive. And I pretty much like that idea. In the end, somebody, maybe myself, is going to have to build and put together all of the set so that we have a final version of a completed set, unless of course several people wanted to do that and then we could just kind of cycle through everyone's completed set. That's an interesting idea. Another one that comes to mind, the towns or sets, is the amusement park. I don't think, oh, the amusement park is mentioned in that comment. I apologize, because I saw that comment some time back and discussed it with a couple others. So yeah, it's like towns or amusement parks where there's several different sets that come together into one. That's not a bad idea. That's something that could be done. You could do like a town or something. It's kind of a toss-up whether to do that, which aren't necessarily directly connected, or do something like a big MU model. I need to sit down and do some looking around at maybe some of the Iconics models and just see if there's one that would fit. I mean, obviously if we did something like this, there's only so many people that could take part in each one. I mean, only so many pieces we could break it into, so we probably have to do more than one. But right now we're still very much in the planning stage, because I don't even know when I'll find time to put something like this together or build something myself. Excuse me, I have the hiccups. Definitely want to do something like that. I want to fix the pass the model video that I have out now and include some more. I do want to do some more of that in the future, but right now we're very much in the planning stages and I'm just still struggling with trying to find time for everything else. But yeah, looking at some ideas. I need to just sit down and put together some lists of my own. It is the beginning of a new month, so I do want to take a moment to thank my current Patreon supporters for their support with this, with doing things in the background, with financial support. That's the word I'm looking for. Financial support for this channel is greatly appreciated. It goes either into models or into behind the scenes stuff. At one point I had some models built up and I went ahead and paid for like 2 years worth of software on sale for the editing software I use, so I'm set on that. So starting to make progress and able to purchase models and requests and whatnot. And remember, as a Patreon supporter, if you have a request, you can make it through Patreon and that bumps you up the list above anyone else, something that I would get to quicker. And I don't know if I've mentioned that lately, or I don't think I mentioned that in a while, but if you are a Patreon supporter, that bumps your request up right there. I do want to thank Andrew S., Chris Paskowich, George Bell, Giovanni Filardo, Hugh Morrison, James Herring, James Stalker, Kaj Nielsen, Kamal McCoon, Ken Crowan, Kendall Fargo, Laurent Palm, Mon Hong, Phil Miller, Seth Bell, Shalin Modi, Timothy Green, Timothy Vogel, and Willie Porter. I apologize for messing up a little bit there. Things got out of focus. Got my laptop right here in front of me and it twisted. And thank you very much for being a Patreon supporter and continuing to support this channel, allowing me the ability to financially record these videos, buy models, do builds, do news videos, such like that. Your financial support is greatly appreciated. Thank you very much. So for this week's question, I don't have a really good one saved up for this week. It's always nice to kind of remind Metal Earth of the kind of models that people want to see built. So I'm going to take this time, it's been a little while since I've asked this question, what are some models you would like to see Metal Earth put out? Some models you'd like to see them design and put out for you to build. List them down below, whatever's coming to your mind, something that you'd like to see that Metal Earth hasn't done, something completely new, something added to a collection they already have. Leave your comments down below. I will read them off next week, maybe even organize them and try to categorize them, because I know Metal Earth is listening, and if something has enough people asking for it and wanting it, there's a better chance that they will give it a try if they have enough support. So even in the Metal Earth subreddit, they tend to kind of post this same question over and over, like every 6 months or so. They put it back at the top to see what people are asking for. So leave it down below. What is something they haven't done you'd like to see them do? A model you'd like to see them build, and make your voice heard. Thank you for watching. Thank you to my Patreon supporters. Thank you for participating and commenting. As always, keep on keeping on.